Welcome, Survivor. Say hello to Joe. Joe's gonna be our test dummy today in today's episode of Mythbusting in 7 Days to Die. Fortunately, he's very kind. He follows orders, pretty much, as long as you keep him well fed. Unfortunately, I have no food except myself, so yeah, we're gonna keep a little bit away from him. And we're here in Alpha 19.1 where we're doing these tests. And the origin of this Mythbuster episode is going to be a question that came up on Reddit that we see here, where someone mentioned or asked, do zombies get a buff against some block shapes? And then continue with, does anyone have a table of damage buff zombies get against different block shapes? As I am starting to understand it, all shapes of a material type have the same hit points, but they take damage at different rates. Or do they? I'd like to be able to make a good decision about when crafting my base. Thank you. Or thanks, rather. And this is something that has come up many times in the past, and I've actually tested it several times with pretty much predictable results. However, someone responded. There was actually a couple people who responded as follows. Just did some game testing, maybe not 100% accurate, but pretty easy to do in debug. Blah, 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 blah. Plates and poles give 6 times the damage, but everything else was giving 1 times the damage. And the person mentioned, so it looks like most shapes are 1x, other than the small double blocks, which has a slight damage mod against wedge tips and a big damage mod against poles and plates. And I read that, and I have protected the names because I don't like to call people out. It's on Reddit, so people might know. If you're the one who wrote the question or the response, feel free to comment on the video. I just don't want to put names out there. Let's keep this anonymous for now. But this is something that I have tested out in the past multiple times, and I thought that sounds like it's not quite the way I've been testing it in the past. So I went through some testing, and I'm still getting feedback that no, it should be 6x against the plates and the poles and everything. And, well, what is it really? So that's really what this Mythbusting episode is all about. And now a message from our sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. There's no sponsor. I'm not being sponsored by anyone to make these guides and everything in 7 days to die, but because I do it because I really love to and to interact with the community. But it's all free. All the videos and everything is free. And all I really ask is remember to hit that subscribe button. The more subscribers I have, the more reach I get. And of course, that makes it more fun for me to actually make the videos because people are actually watching it. Kind of boring if only 5 people are watching it. I get a lot of views on some of these videos, and most people really do forget to subscribe. So if you enjoy this, leave me a subscribe, and if you don't like it in a few weeks, which I think is unlikely because I put out 7 days content every single week, well, then you just unsubscribe. No, don't do that. Just subscribe and forget about it. And of course, ring that notification bell if you really want it to be notified as well. So let's how do we do this testing? So let's start with let's put in just a regular block here. So this is, you can see it's a 7,000 hit point block here. And let's take that down and make a new one like that. And I'm going to enable the AI here, and we'll see how much damage he's actually going to be doing per hit. 8. And yes, you guessed it, 8. So he's doing 8 damage per hit against this full block. Okay, stop, sir. Right. Now, what happens then? Fine. Okay, so let's assume it's 8 against and the steel. What happens if I just let's do this. Let's put a wood block. It doesn't matter where there's a wood or something. So let's put a wood block here, and we'll see. Does that make a difference? Let's see. Hello, sir. 8, and yes, you guessed it, 8. Fine. So wood gives 8 as well. What happens if I do cobblestone blocks? Cobblestone is pretty early game as well. Just take flagstone and upgrade it. But let's see here. 8. And 8 as well. So cobblestone was also giving us 8. All right, that's good to know. So what about concrete? Let's do a final one for concrete because, well, why not? Something that we see often. And yes, you guessed it. 8. Okay, so that one has been established. I'm running on default settings now, so it's adventurer. Stop. Okay, don't move into that one. So baseline is 8 damage, right? Keep that in mind. 8 damage. Now, what if we put down? Let's say we put down a wooden pole. Can I put down a wooden pole? Joe, you are a little bit too close there. Let's temporarily get rid of him. Let's put in another Joe here. Hey, Joe. assuming you wanted to walk up here, how much damage do you do to the pole? Is it 8 or, well, 9? 9. Actually, it's doing 9. That's really interesting. So what I think is happening in here, and as you see, it's actually giving 9. It's not giving 8 because it's giving 1 extra, which is really interesting, actually. Let's kill this one. And let's get rid of this one. And let's put down another one. So that was giving 9 for some reason. How can that be? Let's try that again. He goes up and now it was 8. Now it's 8. Now it's 8. So it seems it should be 8. Sometimes it's what nice. And we're going to come back to that one. It was 9 a couple of times there. And I will come back to that. Keep that in mind. I'm not going to forget about it. So wood pole was giving 8 or 9 that once. Okay, keep that in mind. We're going to test out the cobblestone here, which has a little bit more hit points. But let's see what happens. Hello, Joe. Come on here and 8. Now this is pole, cobblestone pole. Okay, don't hit that one. Come on, this one. 8. And this one should be... Alright, you guessed it, 8 as well. So this one was also giving us 8. Let's do concrete. Let's give it another Joe. Alright, thank you, Joe. I know you're sort of respawning there. 9. 9. Let's see, was that 8? Oh, okay, so that was... This is when they start cheating, actually. Let's do that one. They can actually jump up, which is really interesting. They can actually jump more than too high if they really want to. So let's try that again. And 64 down to 55. So it's 9. Okay, so it's giving 9, 8 sometimes, but 9 sometimes as well. Really interesting, right? And we're going to actually do that again. We're going to bring him in, see if we can get 8 or 9 this time. 8 there. So now you see we're back to 8. It's not 9. There were a few times that it was 9. Okay, keep that in mind. Again, so it's the same as the cobblestone. We're going to go into that discussion very, very soon. Okay, so let's take this one out. Still fairly consistent results here. What about if it's a plate? What happens when it's a plate? So we do that. We're going to put in a plate and we're going to spin it around a little bit and do something like that. All right. Let's take Mr. Joe here again. Come on. Just going to start hitting it. And 8. 8. And 8. So the wooden block plate is giving 8 damage as well. Which is, I guess, as expected. We have to get rid of you because you'll probably be walking towards us. But what about if we're putting a cobblestone? And this is a centered one. That shouldn't really matter, but we'll see. Let's put him as the Joe again. Isn't he really kind? Come on, come here. And this one gives us 8. 8. And wait for it. 8. Yes. So this one also gave. And let's do the last one here. Let's turn this one around a little bit as well. Yes, thank you very much. And we're going to do the Joe again. Shoot that one so he gets aggro on us. And 9. 9. And let's do that. Since he's doing 9, let's restart that one. See if that one gives 8 or 9. Probably. Oh, that gives 9 again. All right. You might be wondering, why am I killing him? Is it different zombies or something? Let's see. It's a 9 again. All right. Let's see if we can shift this plate a little bit. Let's shift it around to this side then. Let's do that. Let's bring another Joe. Come on. We want to bring this down to 8 as well. Oh, there we go. There we go. 8, 8, 8, 8. Okay, let's stop him here. Let me do this, and I'm going to put back one of these ones here. No, apparently I'm not. I'm going to put down this one, and I'm then going to spawn in another one of these ones just because, well, I mean, it's pretty to look at, right? But actually, I'm not. I'm going to do something that is going to be so cool. Oh. Right. So pretend this has been the stripper fighting all along. No, stop. Stop. Okay. So the testing was pretty clear. These full blocks was actually taking 8 damage. The poles were taking 8 damage. and the plates were taking 8 damage. There were some times, and this is where we get into the discussion. So if we look at the original question and the original answer, so the question was they take damage at different rates. And the answer seems to be not yes and no. It's actually, well, let me back out a little bit here. Poles and plates sometimes took 9 damage, and I'm quite sure that there can be cases where they actually take more than 9 damage, and there's a reason for that. Now, normal blocks generally only take the basic 8 because that's what it should be. So as far as them taking 6 times the damage, obviously we can tell that that's not the case. Sometimes it was 9. It was never 6 times 8. It was never 48 damage. It was never close to it. So if we have removed that as an answer because that's not correct, there are cases where I will go into where actually the game can actually bug out. So I'm not saying it hasn't happened in someone's testing. What I'm saying is that it's not intended. If it does damage like 48 damage or something, it's broken. It's not intended. It's not supposed to be like that. So it should be 8, 8, 8, 8. It should always be 8. So what is happening here? And thank you very much for being here. So if you look at the model here, and this is actually pretty good because of the setup, you see the model is sort of glitching in here. You saw she was glitching through this one trying to reach for me. And that has actually an impact, I believe, on how the game calculates damage. So what happens is if you're doing your, let's see, do I have any good weapon for that? Let me do a, what weapon would do that? Machete, maybe? See, does that one do that? Oh yeah, this one is a pretty good way. So what this one does, it slashes basically from right to left. And there are some weapons that do that, and if not if the basic punch, the punch is basically straightforward. But what I believe happens is that the zombie, like in this case, is slightly glitching into the next block. And that causes an effect when they're actually fighting and when they're punching. Because what I believe happens is that they actually hit it more than once. You can see that by, it should be 8, but it gives 9. And I believe that's because the basic damage is 8, but then it also seems to glitch into it as if it's sort of a glancing blow or something. And that causes an issue where the game goes like, hey, okay, but there's also that hit, and that's an extra hit point damage, and it adds up to 9. And that's something that in previous versions we actually saw. Why am I stuck? Okay, I'm stuck here. In previous versions, if you remember back from, I guess, Alpha 16 and 17, you saw, and there was actually a big outcry about that, where zombies were standing like this, and they were actually hitting things that were beyond. Actually, I can see here now. They were actually hitting things that was on this side of the block. So they were standing here, and they were slightly glitched into the block, and they were damaging this block. So let's say you had your wall, and you had your chest here. They could actually take out your chest and not even damage or break down the block in between. They have gotten better at that, but if you've seen my videos in the past, if you played it yourself, you know that they actually can glitch through or glitch into a block, and that causes the fairly unpredictable behavior where, as you could see with this lady, she wants to fight, she wants to bash, but she thinks that she can actually get through even though she can't. And even now she's trying to bash. She doesn't necessarily always get to bash something because the game isn't quite sure of where she is. Sometimes you see she goes back and then it might hit something, and sometimes it does not. So it's slightly off as a result of that. If there are zombies behind her, you can also see a further difference to that. So I think that at this point, when it gives more than the basic damage of 8, and this is depending on the zombie type as well, some of them do seriously a lot more than that. And actually, let's do that. Let me get rid of that one. Let's spawn in a Demolisher. And this is where you will see if the 6x damage was the case, this one would be able to break through this in literally one hit, because he does 500 damage times 6. That would be 3,000. Is he going to break through this one in one hit? Oh, he's probably going to get... Oh, okay, let's do that. Let's take this one out and let's do that. Let's do that and spawn him in again. Right. Is he going to break through in one hit? No. He's doing his regular 500 damage. There's no difference. He could again glitch through slightly as well and do slightly more. But he's nowhere near doing... Come on. he's nowhere near doing 3,000 damage. So I think that the myth that they're actually taking different damage because of any settings or configurations and stuff like that should be busted. It just does not happen. What you do see happen at times, however, though, is that due to some glitching, especially if there are multiple zombies, because they do bump each other a little bit. And let's see, can we get that? Let's see if I can show that as well. Let's do, not Demolisher, let's do this. Okay, like that. You'll see they actually, stop flying, please. They also bash each other a little bit, and they knock each other a little bit as well. And there's one more factor involved here. You'll see how come some of these hits are doing so much damage. They're doing more than 8 damage. Right, that one did like 25. We also have what's called the horde damage bonus, where additional zombies in the same area actually will multiply the damage dealt by a certain factor. Normally, I tested this out in Alpha 17 when it first appeared. It was the first zombie would do 100%, the second would do 110, 120, 130, and so on. So they would do significantly more damage. If you see more damage per hit, it's probably also because there's multiple zombies in the area that is adding on to the horde damage bonus as well. Because, well, there shouldn't be any 6 times damage at all. It should all be the basic one. And let me do that one. Let me do that one. And can I? No, I can't do that one. And if I take out that one, yep, they're all stuck there and they can't get out. So they are doing, oh, she saw that. She actually managed to jump out. And actually, see, she glitched out as well. And that's something that happens when they, not that they ragdoll, but they shift each other around a little bit and they stumble and they're like, yeah, no, I slip out here. And that's the same problem as you're having when it does more than the 8 damage. And that's the reason why I actually retested by killing them and putting out a new one, because I know that if they move a certain way, they can actually glitch a little bit, and that will cause them to do a little bit more damage simply because, well, it's glitching a little bit. And if you kill them and retest, normally you'll see it go back to the usual 8. And now it's, okay, that was, how much was that? Come on, show me. Whatever it was. So doing this kind of testing is usually fairly straightforward. It also can be complicated by multiple factors. I'll go through one thing that I experienced back in Alpha 16 when I realized that there are times where the game sort of goes total out of whack. And this is why I'm not discounting that you could see really weird results where you're doing testing. I'm not calling anyone a liar. Let's be clear about that, because I know it can happen. When I did a video back in Alpha 16, I was doing a video about fall damage. So I made a whole video and I spent like half an hour just recording, and I had spent an hour or something building something up. And I got one set of results. I paused and I went to do something else. I came back and I was going to finish the video, and I was getting a totally different results. I was getting sort of like, instead of zombies dying from a 22 high fall, they were basically only dying when they were dropped 50 or something. And it was consistent. Throughout that whole session, it was consistent. And I couldn't figure it out. What turns out to be is that 1 out of 4 times I started the game mechanic would somehow get it all wrong, where the fall damage would be severely reduced. And 75% of the time it would be correct, but 1 out of 4 times it would be incorrect. And it was sort of like just random. So I restarted the game like 20 times, and out of that, 4 times, 5 times, give or take, had the incorrect fall damage, and the rest was correct. So I know that it can actually go wrong at times, and that's where testing can be a little bit deceptive at times. But this is Mythbusting with Vedui 42, and hopefully you've enjoyed this and you hit that subscribe button, right? Don't forget before you leave, and of course, I will see you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the Vedui community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.